A. Aspects of writing.
If you're in a hurry, you can scribble a note to someone. A note is likely to be in a more chatty style than, say, a business letter.
I'll just jot down, informal, your phone number before I forget it. I'll just make a note of, more formal, your phone number before I forget it.
She got so bored at the meeting, she spent the whole time doodling.
I'll copy out the information on hotels for you.
I'm just drafting an application letter for that job I told you about.
Some students write down everything the lecturer says.
She's writing up her dissertation at the moment, so she's very tired and stressed.
She bought the manuscript of a famous poem at the sale.
B. Type and print.
Learning to touch type was one of the most useful things I've ever done.
I've finished my book. I'll email the typescript to the publisher tomorrow.
I'll run you off a copy at the same time.
I've done the text, but I want to format it properly before printing it.
I usually cut and paste or copy and paste bits of material from my notes when I'm writing an essay, then link them all together.
The letters and numbers on a keyboard can all be called characters. A password often needs to be at least 8 characters, for example. These words are in bold, and these words are italicized. These words are in bold, and these words are in italics. These words are in a shaded box. These words are in a different font size from the rest, and these words are in a different font or typeface. This sentence is in double inverted commas. This sentence is in double quotation marks. This one is in single quotation marks. This one is in single quotes. This sentence is indented. This sentence has 2 asterisks in front of it. This sentence has a bullet point in front of it. Types of brackets: round brackets, diamond or angle brackets, square brackets, curly brackets. Capitals or uppercase, more technical, is the opposite of small letters or lowercase. This person has written her name in block capitals. Monica Keeble. This is the first page of an academic book. Look at the structure and the names of the different elements. The numbers on the extract are in superscript.
A. Vague and general words. In informal speech, we make frequent use of rather vague words and words with many different or rather general meanings, like thing or get. That's one of the things I want to talk to him about.
Laura has got a thing about mice.
Don't make such a big thing of it.
There wasn't a thing we could do about it.
For one thing, I haven't got time. For another thing, I can't afford it.
The thing is, I have to take my car for a service tomorrow morning.
As things are at present,
I don't get what you're saying.
We must get that parcel in the post today.
She had big plans to travel the world, but she just never got it together.
Jill will get things sorted today. Jill will get things sorted out today.
I hope I can get her to myself this evening.
B.
When you can't think of the word. When we can't remember a word or name, we often replace it with a vague word.
For objects: thingy, thingamy, thingamajig, thingamabob, what's it, whatchamacallit, whatnot.
Have you seen the thingy we use for keeping the door open?
For people, what's his name? For a man. What's her name? For a woman.
Did you see what's his name today?
Note that these words can be written in different ways. It is also possible to use thingy for either a man or a woman.
I was talking to Thingy about that yesterday.
C. Quantifiers. Some quantifiers are common in informal speaking but are rare in formal writing. For example, the following expressions mean a lot of: bags of, a load of, loads of, a mass of, masses of, dozens of, tons of, umpteen.
I can help you. I've got bags of time.
They can afford to go on expensive holidays as they've got loads of money.
I've tried phoning her umpteen times, but she never seems to answer her mobile. These expressions mean a little or some. A bit of, a scrap of.
I've got a bit of a headache.
You've been sitting there all day, but you haven't done a scrap of work.
D. Being indirect and less threatening. Here are some expressions which we can use in speech to make what we are saying sound less threatening and potentially offensive to the person we are talking to.
It's not the most practical thing you've ever done. It's not the most sensible thing you've ever done. It's not the most intelligent thing you've ever done. It's not the most appropriate thing you've ever done.
It's not the most practical idea, and I mean that in the nicest possible way.
No offence intended, but I think you've misunderstood the basic problem.
If you don't mind me saying so, I think that you could have handled that better. If you don't mind my saying so, I think that you could have handled that better.
I gather you feel upset by the recent changes in the office.
Incidentally, have you paid your money for the club outing yet?
What a load of idiots. Present company accepted, of course.
The staff here, myself included, have not been working quite as hard as we should.
The words and phrases in this unit are mostly for informal conversation, except where indicated, and may sound inappropriate in more formal contexts.
A. Vague expressions for numbers and quantities.
He left a sum in excess of $1 million when he died.
It'll cost you somewhere in the region of £900 a month to rent a flat.
It'll take 5 hours, give or take half an hour, to drive there.
The second meeting is approximately 2.5 months after the first one.
It'll take a week or so to get the computer repaired.
Quite a few students hadn't registered.
There was only a smattering of women authors among the prize winners.
Would you like a dash of chili sauce with your kebab? Would you like a smidgen of chili sauce with your kebab?
I'd like a dollop of ice cream with my fruit salad.
I used to have stacks of CDs with my files on, but now I have them all on one memory stick.
B. Making things less precise in informal conversation. More or less is often used with verbs and adverbs to make things more vague. I think we've more or less solved the problem with the computer now.
My English is more or less the same level as the other students in the class.
A bit and a bit of a are used with adjectives and nouns to soften the meaning.
I'm a bit fed up with all the complaints I'm getting.
We were in a bit of a panic when we heard there was a strike at the airport.
Or whatever, or something, things like that, and that kind of thing are useful expressions for referring vaguely to things and actions. You could work on Saturday, then spend Sunday going to museums or galleries or whatever.
If you don't want tea, have a lemonade or something.
In the evenings, we played board games and things like that. In the evenings, we played board games and that kind of thing.
We need a big container made of plastic. A dustbin or something along those lines would do.
He said he was fed up with all the attacks and criticisms, or words to that effect. A. Verbs denoting volume, from quiet to loud. Mumble and mutter are both usually negative.
Stop mumbling. I can't hear what you're saying.
He was muttering something under his breath, probably complaining as usual.
Murmur can be more positive.
They murmured their approval when he told them the plan.
The phrase without a murmur means without any protest, complaint, or comment.
They accepted it all without a murmur. I was surprised. Normally they argue about everything.
Raise your voice can be used in positive or negative contexts. You'll have to raise your voice a bit. She's a little hard of hearing.
Don't you raise your voice at me.
Shout, yell, scream, roar, and shriek are all followed by at.
Don't shout at me.
Yell often conveys urgency, anger, frustration. It is also used when there is much surrounding noise.
He yelled at the children to stop messing around with his computer.
Stay where you are, he yelled above the noise of the traffic. Shriek means loud and very high-pitched. It can be used in positive and negative contexts.
Oh, wow! That's fantastic, she shrieked.
Roar suggests very loud volume, but deeper pitched, like a lion. It is used in positive and negative contexts.
The crowd roared as he kicked the ball into the back of the net.
How dare you come in here? He roared angrily.
B. Verbs describing speech and styles of conversation.
Tom and Lily are always nagging each other. Tom and Lily are always nagging at each other.
Stop bickering over who sits by the window, you two.
They spent all evening slagging off their colleagues.
Jessie is always whining and whinging.
He's been chatting away on the phone all morning.
We always gossip about work when we go out together.
It took him a long time to realise they were winding him up.
I realised she was buttering me up.
Rick tends to exaggerate his problems, so don't take him too literally.
Meg is inclined to generalise on the basis of her very limited experience.
C. Speech and articulation problems.
She speaks with a lisp. She lisps. She says thing instead of sing.
Difficulty in making an S sound and making a th sound instead.
He hates speaking in front of people because he's got a really bad stammer.
Speak with abnormal pauses and repetitions.
I want to tell you something, she stuttered nervously.
Repeat sounds at the beginning of words. He was slurring his words because he had drunk far too much alcohol. His words had a slow, lazy sound, difficult to understand.
I want to tell her I love her, but I get tongue-tied.
Cannot say what I want to say because of nerves. That is, emotional rather than physical problem affecting speech.